Right, this is one Mr Chippie's done. If I find the remote for the cameras, we'll put the camera back in its normal position. So, this type of power supply is the one we're talking about. They come in so many different names. So, the dead giveaway, you've got an LED there, you've got a slide switch there, got terminals and fuse holder on the back, and then the lid that goes over is black metal with perforations around the bit that needs extra ventilation. And this is one that Mr Chippie has rebuilt to be safe. So the first thing he's done, and we've done this power supply, and go back looking at it, new plug, new mains lead, we put new capacitors in, in fact we probably put new just about everything in that. So we've wired the switch so that it switches the live and not the neutral, which was one of the errors, and the fuse holder is the type where you take the fuse out, the fuse comes with the holder and doesn't stay inside, which it did on the original one. That's why they got banned. They got banned because of the fuse holder, because of it switching only the neutral, and because the terminals to the transformer here were not insulated, so you could poke your fingers in, and that was the problem. It wasn't a problem that they didn't do what they did. It's not a problem that they were unreliable, because they weren't, and it's a good circuit, and that's why we replicated it in the design which Mr Chippie came up with there. So I'll put that back to one side. You know the type of power supply we're talking about, and I'm revisiting it because I can't finish what I wanted to do because of the building work here and so much stuff being in storage. So I've been asked by a couple of people, where's the parts list? Well, it isn't a project. We were just, you can go and buy one of these and then you'll find out what parts are in it. And you can still buy these from Radio Rallies for a £5, and they're absolute superb because it cost us nearly 40 quid to make one. So let's see what is in it. And I can't give you a capacitor number like you would on most commercial items because the board doesn't have any numbers. So, have I got a pen on here? So one of the things that isn't in store is the parts to make these. So, the printed circuit board equipment's in store, but he's already made the boards. So there's our notes. So, oh, it's like that, is it? So we have two capacitors here. (2200 microfarads at 25 volts. We have a resistor there, and it is 1.5 K, also shown as 1K5 when you order these things. The reason for that is when you are photocopying circuit diagrams and parts list, you can end up photocopying photocopies and the decimal place can get missed, and that's why it's expressed like that these days. The next resistor you've got is there. You know what? I can't actually see what we've written the value on there for that. So that is 1 ohm. Oh, it does say, it just didn't come out on the photocopy. So that's that one. So it's resistor, quarter watt, or 0.6 watt, whatever they're selling. Doesn't matter. It's 1 ohm, shown as 1R. Let's get the other resistor out of the way, which is down there. Resistor, quarter watt, 820 ohms, which is shown as 820R. So that's your resistors. So, diode. There is a Zener diode, and it's 1.3 watt, 15 volts. We've used, make this easy because I brought the packet in, we have used BZX85C15, and the RS part number for that is 7485067 for those people with RS accounts. So we've got the 4 rectifier diodes here. 4 times 1N5400. But you can use 1N5401 through to 1N5407. It's the N there, didn't I? 1N5401. And all this is the voltage. I think it starts at 50 volts and it rises to 1250. And the same goes with, these are 3 amp diodes, 3 amp. The 1 amp diodes, the 1N400 series, like 1N4001, which you often use as protection diodes in CB radios. 1N4001 is 50 volts, 1N4007 is 1250 volts, something like that. So that's what those numbers mean. It easily looked up. That's those 4 diodes there. 4 of those. Did we have a part number? Did I bring any out? No, I didn't. But anyway, that's what they are. So well, the other 2 capacitors there, 2 times, I think these are 100 microfarad. 100 microfarad at 25 volts. And you know what? You can always go higher on capacitors if you can fit them in. So you can buy 35 volts, you can buy 40 volts. What you can't do is go under. So you can always buy them a bit higher voltage, but not smaller. So that's those 2 capacitors there, 100, and they originally fitted 100 microfarads at 16 volts. We've upped it to 25. The transistor there is a 2SC1815. Which is NPN silicon. And I did bring some of those out. See what they say on them. These are the GR variants, so these say C1815GR. So lots of the time when you see Japanese transistors, they don't have the 2S. They just say C or D or A. That can be confusing because Philips do that with some of theirs. They'd be BC237, for example, and they'd put C237, and that makes it confusing. So the next thing is the transistor on the back, I'm going to say the back, is a 2N3055. So I'll put big TO3 transistor, that's the case. N3055, and you need an insulating kit. TO3, because it mounts on a mica washer and it has bushers so that the nuts and bolts that go through aren't attaching it to the heatsink and aren't attaching it to chassis. You need a heatsink. I think they were a small fortune. Very, very similar. And these particular ones, I don't want to get them out of the packet, but I just hope you can see that they are ready drilled for two TO3 devices, which does save a bit of time. So, heatsink. The on and off switch we used the CPC SW05811, and the reason I chose this is it's presented as a round aperture, which makes it easier to cut than starting to cut rectangular ones. Fuse holder. So we've used 1¼ inch, I think. Yeah, we've used 1¼ inch. And we've used RS 627209 fuse. And it's T for time delay, 1 amp. So that's known as an anti-surge fuse. And that's so when you switch the thing on, the initial flux density in the transformer doesn't make it go pop, which it would if it was a fast blow. So fuses are often say T something, M something, or F something, fast blow, medium blow, and time delay. The transistor there, not on a heatsink, that case is called a TO220. I'll put that at the top because we really should have included earlier. Transistor. And it is 2SD325. The chances are it just says D325 on it, just like that does. That big resistor, 5-watt resistor, (0.1 ohm), so it would be 0R1, 5 watt, and we used a ceramic one. What did they use, or did we replace it? They, if we can actually see down there, they used a 3-watt carbon type one, but we think that gets too hot. Transformer. RS504638, which is 024 volt, 024 volt. So the way that's wired, because you actually want it as 24 24. So what happens there is your first wire goes on to the 0, the 24 and the 0 are then wired together, so that becomes your 0, and then once again you've got 24, so it becomes 24, 0, 24. And if you look at the original transformer, which only has 3 connections, you've got purple, black, purple, like that. So it'd be purple, black, linked, purple, which goes onto this printed circuit board, and we've called it violet, 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 black, so that goes to transformer. And the connections to the series pass transistor, the 2N3055, are emitter, base, collector. So we haven't put the pins in for this. So emitter, base, collector, the LED, the red wire, the black wire, and then your transformer, black, violet, violet. So we built these as a 3 amp power supply, but we used the 5 amp circuit because the 3 amp circuit was a bit of crud, we thought. The case we used, which will cost you more than most power supplies, we used, if there's room on here, the case, it's a Hammond and it is 178 by 92 by 70 millimeter, and it's RS. It may not. No, it's not RS, is it? That their part number. So their part number is 51109000. So that's what we used. So we've now generated for the first time. So we never had a components list because we didn't need one. And I'm going to put that sideways on for you. I'm going to zoom in on that, and then you can take your screenshots. Let's make sure that's lined up on the monitor. Right, that's as neat as I think we're going to get that. So that's your first screenshot. And that can be your second one. Just get that lined up exactly. It's about as good as we're going to get it. I'm going to put the board there for your other layout. And then I'm going to turn it over and you can see the pattern. You couldn't resist putting TSG on there, which is Tango Systems Group, which is, shall we say, the holding company of this business. So there we go. That is the power supply revisited, which we did about 18 months ago now. So because of the building work, because of that organ restoration, we just cannot put any more time into this until that's done. Then we'll get this back out again and we'll carry on with what we were doing. Because there's another power supply I might want to replicate, like the Bremy one. But we're talking about next year. I'm recording this in 2022, and that organ is a 19,000 hour project that we're 850 hours into. So there's a lot of work to do to that, and it's part of somebody's will, not the organ cost, but the building it's in. We've had this private chapel built as part of somebody's will, and the idea is that he wanted people to be able to learn to play the church organ in a non-church environment, in a building with some heat, and for free. So that's what that's about, and so we need to get that organ playable so that that will can be signed off. So it is important. So I'm not paid for the organ, but at the end of the day, I've ended up with a building, haven't I? And I'm going to end up with one of our organs overhauled and installed, which I can use for practice, which is great. So I better get that Ukrainian national anthem learnt so that I can play it for a wedding in a couple of weeks. The bride's mother has taken in 2 Ukrainian refugees, and of course they're coming to this wedding, and so it'd be very nice for them if we do that. So we've now got the music, I just need to go and play it somewhere. So there we are, the power supply, the dodgy power supply revisited, turned into a project which I never even intended doing, but we've made 10 of them. Thanks for watching.